Hi, this is Moody, and that's Jack, and today we're going to be talking about NFL Week 2 for a review and then Week 3 for a preview.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Jack. Like Moody said, we'll be going over Week 2. For the most part with Week 2, we're going to be talking about the nationally focused games, the ones that, everyone got a chance to see. But also we'll touch on the other games to give a quick recap and, briefing. Then we'll follow it up with Week 3 preview, kind of seeing where we think things are headed and how they're going to go based off of, the first 2 weeks. But with that, Moody can get us started with the first game.
Yeah, Bills versus Dolphins, and holy crap, this was a bad loss for the Dolphins. Not only they lose their quarterback, Tua. So what do you have to say about that, Jack?
Yeah, on that topic first for Tua, I want to say I hope he gets better because this is like his third major concussion. He's had tons of issues otherwise with health, but concussions are a serious thing now. So seeing that, you never love it, especially considering someone who seems to be a really good guy and, he just got his contract extension. He seems like, there's some doubts, so you're hoping he'd be able to prove himself and, kind of put an end to those doubts. And, whatever he does, I'm sure he'll make the right decision for himself, but that, it's scary to watch, but, just want to get that out of the way, make sure that that's the main focus here. But other than that, the actual game, the Dolphins, it's hard to really look at them as contenders in the AFC when, in their own division, they can't beat the Bills. No matter what they do over the last 3 or 4 years, I believe they have beaten the Bills a total of 0 times in the last 3 or 4 years. And it is, if you can't win your division, how are you going to be winning, AFC playoff games when you're on the road the whole time? It's not often that, a team that's on the road the whole playoffs gets into the championship. The last time I think that happened was 2010 with the Packers, and that's with Aaron Rodgers. And no offense to Tua, but he's no prime Aaron Rodgers. But, I think the Bills, they look strong. Josh Allen didn't have to do much of anything. He just had to not turn over the ball. And I think he's kind of going to build a solid MVP case if he can be the guy who's not turning the ball over. He's making, accurate passes, taking off, being on the run, and able to just win these solid games. I don't know, Moody, if you have any thoughts, but I just thought the Bills looked, dominant. Obviously, the Bills always look dominant in the regular season and the playoffs when they face the Chiefs. That's kind of when it falls apart. But I just have a hard time, buying into the Dolphins after all this, especially now with Tua being on IR out 4 months. They had or 4 weeks. They have no solid backup with Skylar Thompson. It's unfortunate for the Dolphins, but I just think they kind of prove that they can't hang with the top guys in the AFC, let alone their own division. And then they lost their quarterback for the foreseeable future, so I don't know how they're gonna be able to recover from this.
Yeah, it feels like this is it's kind of screwed for them. I mean, Tyreek Hill he had 3 catches, and only 24 yards, average of 8 yards. He had 1 rush, was 12 yards. Here's the thing about Skylar Thompson: he at least is above 50% in his catch complete attempted. 8 out of 14, but no touchdown, no interception. I think, and I know he didn't come in that early. I don't recall, to be honest, but
the only thing that backup with someone like Tua, you need a proven backup because Tua's injured. He's had 1 season where he's been fully healthy. You need a proven backup. Like, I just don't get what the Dolphins were thinking.
No, I agree with that. Seems pretty dumb. They're going to rely on Achani a lot. 22 carries for 96 yards. I don't think that's really that great, unfortunately. I mean, and the only touchdown came from again Achani, but who received it. So it's just it's like Tua, even when he played, excuse me, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. 145 yards. That's not great. I mean, I know the Bills' defense has been pretty solid the last few years.
But I think with Sean McDermott, they're always going to be a solid defense. I don't know if they'll be, a top 10, top 5 defense, but they're always going to be a solid defense. They're well coached on the defensive side. But on the Tyreek Hill thing, I was going to say, I think it's interesting that Tyreek Hill is probably the best receiver in the league, him and Justin Jefferson. But whenever he faces the Bills or the Chiefs, he can't do anything. He averages, I believe, 40 yards a game when facing either the Chiefs or the Bills. And I mean, those are the two top teams in the AFC, other than maybe the Bengals. And if your best player, the guy who probably is, your MVP of the team, isn't doing anything, it's just once again hard for me to really buy into the Dolphins this year.
I mean, no, you're right though. I mean, against 7 games against the Bills, he averaged 52 receiving yards, but 0.3 receiving touchdowns, 6.7 rushing yards, and no rushing touchdowns ever. He just struggles, so they better hope that the Dolphins don't meet the Bills in the playoffs, which is obviously always a chance. But yeah, it seems like this is not going to be good for the Dolphins, and the Bills look great. Like you said, Josh Allen only had 1 touchdown, but didn't lose the ball once. He's over 500 in complete attempts. And, however, the only player that looked, I guess, not great is Mitchell Trubisky. 2 carries, -2 yards. I did not know he was on this team still. Bears legend.
He Bears legend indeed. After the Steelers, he went back to Buffalo. I think he's kind of comfortable there, and the Bills are comfortable with him being, a spot starter because Josh Allen is historically healthy. Knock on wood. Don't want to wish injuries on any player, but
I mean, would you have Mitchell Trubisky or Skylar Thompson? I think Trubisky maybe wins.
I'd have Trubisky in a heartbeat. He's not great, but in a spot starter too. He's experienced. He's led teams to the playoffs, and so Skylar Thompson has done nothing. And in his 1 playoff game, I believe it's 2 years ago, they put up 9 points. So it's just, for a team it's like the Jets last year with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, he's old. He was starting to get healthy or injured quite more frequently than he had before when he was younger. And their backup is a guy who was terrible in college. He had no starting experience. And Zach Wilson, who they had given up on and pretty much said they wanted him to be a reclamation project. And what they had to pretty much put their season on hold and hope again for next year for this year now, and Aaron Rodgers to be healthy. So it's just, I don't understand the decisions of certain GMs.
No, and yeah, it's just, I think sometimes it's just being dumb or lazy, but I mean, you'd be shocked. So for our next game, let's just go for a more exciting game. Vikings versus 49ers. I feel like this is a classic NFC battle. 49ers have been really good in the past couple years with different players, different players on their team, and it's just we know McCaffrey didn't play obviously, but like the Vikings look good though. I'll say that.
Yeah, which is surprising. They not to hate on Sam Darnold, but you don't really have a lot of faith in him considering everything that's gone on with him with the Jets and the Panthers, and then for the 49ers, he was a backup, and they said good things about him in camp, but he really never got to play. And so you're not really expecting Sam Darnold to come in here. And I got to give a lot of credit to Kevin O'Connell, the coach. I think he's done a great job with his team. They're competitive still. I don't think they're as good as their record states, but they're not a bad team. I think they honestly have a chance of going 9-8 and maybe sneaking into the playoffs just because Kevin O'Connell is such a good coach. Justin Jefferson, he's obviously, like I said earlier, him and Tyreek are probably the 2 best receivers in this league. It's kind of, and Sam Darnold, he's playing great right now. We'll see if he can keep it up. I fear that he might, lower himself down to Sam Darnold of old. But as it stands, he looked great. But more importantly, the 49ers, I got to say, this Brock Purdy needs to prove himself. He has all these great weapons around him. He has Debo, McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk, Trent Williams. One of them goes down, and all of a sudden he looks average to below average. Like he has to be like, even with Debo and Christian McCaffrey gone, he still has Brandon Ayuk, who just got $30 million a year. They have George Kittle, who everyone considers a top 3 tight end. They have Trent Williams, the best left tackle in the game. Jordan Mason is tearing it up still. So, and Kyle Shanahan is probably the best offensive coach other than maybe Andy Reid in this league. He needs to, kind of show that he's not just a system guy. He's someone who can lead them to a Super Bowl, who can lead them to a playoffs. Because Debo's going to be out the next couple of weeks. McCaffrey's on IR. This is his chance to really put his doubters to rest. And I'll be honest, I'm one of his doubters. I don't think he truly has it. I think he's a smart quarterback. I think he makes the right passes, but I don't think he has the arm talent or the skill to really transcend the position. So this is his chance to prove us wrong. He doesn't have the help that he would normally have.
Yeah, I mean, he has no excuse. I still believe in him, but I mean, if I'm not wrong, he was a third quarterback, right, last year or the year before. So I mean, he's been playing and he's been on the team, so he needs to play better. You just wonder if the 49ers went with a more veteran quarterback that actually can make consistent passes. I mean, he has 319 yards, but only one touchdown, and like he only missed eight passes. But with one touchdown, one interception, and with 319, you would think he'd do more better. I mean, Sam Darnold outperformed him, even though he threw the ball less. I mean, but he got only 50 less yards on 12 less throws, and still had two touchdowns to the one interception. And he has less weapons. I mean, I know Josh is great, but like,
Jordan Addison was out. T.J. Hawkinson was out. I mean, no offense to Aaron Jones, but he's past his prime. Like,
I mean, yeah, Ty Chandler outplayed him.
Yeah, so like, no, Purdy has all the weapons. He has great coaches around him. He needs to show that he can, be a force multiplier. And last week, he didn't look like it. He looked like a guy, and that's not, what the 49ers need. We'll see if he can prove him. I know last year he came, I think, number 2 or number 3 in MVP voting, which was just crazy to me. He's, I think he's a tad overrated. I think truly he's right around 15th in terms of quarterbacks in the league. But this is his chance to really cement himself and earn that paycheck, earn that contract, and show the 49ers that he can be a quarterback. Because if he gets that contract, they're going to have to let go of Debo and a couple of their weapons. So this is his time to shine, and let's see if he can do it. But I got to give props to the Vikings one more time. They really did a good job.
Yeah, I would disagree if they went with Brock over Samuels. Okay, so next up we have is Seahawks versus Patriots. I don't think this was much of a pretty game. I didn't watch this game. I'm not gonna lie to you, but again, Geno Smith has been playing well. It was a close game, 23-20. 327 yards, and he seems to be still throwing the ball a lot with 44 throws, and he completed 33 of them. Anyone that stands out for you for the Seahawks or the Patriots?
I want to focus on two different people. First, I want to give a lot of credit to Jared Mayo, the head coach of the Patriots. I think I saw something earlier that showed that the Patriots had the lowest over-under in terms of wins coming into the season by Vegas, showing that, everyone kind of expected them to be this really terrible team. Week 1, they come out and shock the Bengals. In Week 2, they play a really tough competitive game with the Seahawks, who might not be a great team, but they're a good team. And the fact that Jared Mayo's got them playing these close games, they're in it the whole time. They have a chance to actually go out and win and start their season 2-0. I think that's really impressive, and hopefully they can develop their Drake May, because I think he has, skills. He has, the arm strength. He has the speed. He's someone who could be something. So hopefully Jared Mayo has some good quarterback coaches and people around him to help build up Drake May, because he seems to, have the team fighting for him, and he seems to have them on his side. So as long as he can get that quarterback position set locked in, I think the Patriots actually have a brighter future than what we're thinking. And then on the Seahawks side, I just want to say Geno Smith, I think, is still really underrated. People are always like, "Oh, he's a great story." At this point, he's been on the Seahawks for 3 years. He has a 2-to-1 touchdown ratio or touchdown interception ratio, averaging nearly 300 yards a game in that time frame, and they're, I believe, 35 and 19 or something like that.
You're right.
At that point, that's not just a good story. That's just he's a good quarterback, and we need to start, regarding him a little bit higher than a good story. He's really turned around that team, and sure, you can give a lot of the credit to the scheme, but Pete Carroll's not there anymore. They lost Shane Waldron, who people said kind of turned him around, and it's just that's not a story anymore. It's just Geno Smith is a good quarterback, and we have to come to terms with that. I think it was a great story, though. They wrote me a letter, and I haven't written back or whatever he said. Great story, but it's not that anymore. It's time to give Geno his flowers.
Right. And I agree with that. Gino out of nowhere, being part of that Russell Wilson trade has, shown that why he's still in the league. And I don't have really much to add about that. It just seems like an average game. Good win for the Seahawks. But let's head to the Giants. No, yeah, for sure. Let's head to with the Giants and Commanders. Another very close game.
All I got to say on this game is, the rookie quarterbacks haven't been that great, but I will say one thing about Jaden Daniels. It's, for all of the flaws, not being able to really throw a passing touchdown and really being a dink and dunk master, I think it's been, impressive how he has completed a high percentage of his passes, even though they've been short, and he hasn't turned the ball over in terms of interceptions yet. So I got to give him some props for that. That's pretty impressive for a rookie for 2 weeks with a Commanders offense that is okay. It seems like they have a great rushing attack now. Brian Robinson is playing great. Austin Eckler's, a good change of pace. He's still got some juice in him, obviously. And Jaden Daniels himself is a great scrambling quarterback. But you would expect, the Commanders and Jaden Daniels to be struggling a little bit these first couple weeks. But I think he's really showing that he has some potential. The one thing that scares me is he is rail thin. Thin quarterbacks, small quarterbacks, they get hurt. And it's
right.
He needs to add some strength and some muscle, and I think he could have a long career if he's able to do that. And on the Giants side, they need to get rid of Daniel Jones. The only reason I could think that they're playing Daniel Jones is because they want that first pick, and they want Quinn Ewers or Shedeur or Carson Beck or whoever they think is the number one quarterback in this draft class. Because I know he had like 200 passing yards or something, but he just does not look good. He's a backup quarterback at this point, and I feel bad for Daboll because Daboll, I think, is a great coach. He's a great offensive mind, and he, showed one good season with Daniel Jones, and it wasn't even great. It was just good for Daniel Jones. And the Giants GM, Joe Schoen, just decided, you know what, let's pay this man and attach ourselves to him for 3 years. And that was just dumb. I don't see the Giants logic in that, and they really screwed themselves because nobody is ever going to think of Daniel Jones as better than a backup quarterback who has some scrambling ability. He looks uncomfortable in the pocket. He's not an accurate thrower. He's just not that guy. So I feel bad for Daboll. I feel like he deserves better, and he's not going to get it with the Giants. And honestly, they're probably going to let go of him after this season, even though he won Coach of the Year 2-3 years ago with them. And
he did.
Unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to this game because it's just I don't care for the Giants nor for the other team. But the quarterback looks good. The quarterback looks good for the Commanders. Let's get to a really trash game of the Chargers versus the Panthers, and poor Bryce Young. No touchdown.
He hasn't been put in the best situation, but yeah, he hasn't looked great either. And as a Bears fan, I want to thank the Panthers for giving us DJ Moore, Caleb Williams, Tyreek Stevenson, and a second next year to be determined on who that's going to be. Looks like it's probably be the first pick in the second round. So thank you, Panthers. But they look they look awful this year. And we could talk about the Saints. We're going to talk about the Saints later, but the Saints blowing them out 47-10, I think it was, and then 26-3 this week, and they're throwing the ball, they're running the ball. It doesn't matter what you're doing to this team. They're finding success. So it's just you feel bad for Bryce Young, but at the same time, Dave Canales is probably making the right decision. It's good to kind of put Andy Dalton out there, show that if they can show that this offense has some life with it with Andy Dalton, it's probably good for Dave Canales. Is showing that he's not the problem, but Bryce is the problem. And I don't want to declare anybody a bust in their second year. But man, he's looking like a bust.
Unfortunately, some teams will screw the player over to the point where they become a bust, whether there's their fault or not. But I know specifically in football, if you're in a bad situation, no matter how good you are, you're going to end up being a bust because of how bad that team is.
Oh, trust me, I get it. As a Bears fan, I've seen it with many quarterbacks. But no, and also I want to say for the Chargers, they're like Jim Harbaugh has come in here and his plan of attack is crazy how effective it is. He pretty much said, I'm going to get 2 running backs. I'm going to beef up this offensive line, get some tight ends who can block and receive. Right. We're just going to run the ball. I'm not going to make Justin Herbert go out and be Superman like he's tried to be for the past couple years, because obviously that doesn't work. So let's take the ball, out of his hands. He's still a great quarterback, I think, but let's not make him be a guy who has to drop back 40 times. Let's make him be a guy who has to drop back 20 times, make a couple crucial throws, and he's throwing to nobody out there. Ladd McConkey, I think, could be good, but he's a rookie. Quentin Johnstone, he had his first good game in 17, 16 games, however many he's played. So I'm I don't have faith in him. I think it was one fluky performance from him until he proves me wrong. And Hurst, I think, is their tight end, and he looked good too. So they're Jim Harbaugh came in and he's making the Chargers look like a playoff team. I don't think they're a championship contender team yet. I think they're a year or two away from that. They still need a little bit more on the defense and offense, but they're looking quite good. And you wouldn't expect that from a team that just had the 4th overall pick. They traded away Keenan Allen. They traded away or cut Mike Williams. They lost a couple of key pieces. Right. They're looking like a solid team this year.
No, agreed. I do believe in the the Chargers. Okay, let's talk about the next game, which hurts me a lot. Saints versus Cowboys, right? Reason why it hurts me, Kamara, I played against him in fantasy, and I also have CeeDee Lamb. So I don't know what's going on with the Cowboys. Like usual, they struggle for some reason. I know Dak always starts very slow, but yeah, they just look like they're bad this year. I know. They beat the Browns, who had an amazing defense.
And the Browns being my second favorite team, it's I don't think the Browns are that good.
I mean their defense is good, but besides that, trust me, they're not good. That's what I'm saying. It's they're 1-1, but you lost to a really bad team and you lose. And the Saints again just blowing another team out. I know the other team was the Panthers, but come on, this is a chance. This is a important game to step up, and they just didn't.
No, I agree completely. And I know everybody's focus is the Cowboys because they're America's team. We're gonna buck that trend. I'm tired of talking about the Cowboys and hearing about the Cowboys all the time. We'll get to them. We'll talk about them a little bit, but I want to put my focus on the Saints. Clint Kubiak coming in as the OC. I don't know what he's doing, but Derek Carr looks like a new man. Now, sure, he could, revert back to a lemon and be a bottom 10 quarterback in the next couple of games. Right. These first 2 weeks, he has looked great. The offense is rejuvenated. You got Alvin Kamara out there looking, 5 years younger. You got Rashid Shaheed playing out of his mind. You got Chris Olave, who wasn't great the first game, but the second game he steps up. They're not utilizing their tight ends, but they're making use of everybody else. And then the defense, sure, the Panthers, they're the Panthers, but the Cowboys holding them to 19 points at home. I'm sure I don't know if you knew this, Moody, but the Cowboys coming into this game, I think they were 16-1 in their last 2 seasons at home. So the Cowboys have been an amazing team at home. Dak Prescott, while he's usually starts slow, he's always good at home. The Cowboys are great. They're a great home team, and they get blasted like this to the Saints in the home opener. That's crazy to me. And I don't know if it's the new coordinator Mike Zimmer. I don't know if it's they really didn't make any moves this offseason.
There's always an excuse for the Cowboys.
No, there is, and that's why I'm tired of everybody talking to them as this big contender. They always have the weapons, but they never do it. And I think Mike McCarthy is an okay coach, but really after 3 straight years of 12 wins and not winning a playoff game, you need to let him go. I'm sorry, or winning one playoff game, you need to let him go. And they really needed a fresh start, some new eyes on the team, and they just they couldn't pull the trigger. So I'm disappointed in the Cowboys. I think they're going to be a playoff team just because the NFC is so weak, but I'm really not expecting big things from them this year.
No, same here. I'm impressed with the Saints. And if you have nothing else to say, I'm going to add Kool-Aid McKinstry, coolest name in NFL. I did not know he existed, but that is a good name. I don't.
Yeah, no, I've been hearing about him a lot, and I think that's a great name. Him and I wish HaHa Clinton Dix was still in the league and put him and Kool-Aid on the same team would have been great.
Yeah, no, for real, that's a great name. But yeah, good and for honestly, the Saints.
Yeah, the Saints. I just want to give props one more time. I think they really do have a chance to win their division with Clint Kubiak the way that he's kind of running this team and this offense.
No, I 100% agree. Let's get to another NFC game, or not just an NFC game. Excuse me. But Colts and Packers game, it was a very slow game. 16 Packers won, 16-10. I'm a big Green Bay fan. Anthony Richardson, though, I'm going to say about the Colts. I drafted him last year. I know it was his second year. I know basically it's kind of his first and a half year because he was injured for most of his first year. But 50%, 204 yards, but with 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor, no touchdowns at all with 103 yards. Michael Pittman, 3. He caught 3 balls, 21 yards. Just it seems their offense. I mean, I know if you don't have a good quarterback, your offense is going to struggle. But man, this was an ugly game, especially from Malik Willis to outdo that rookie. 122 yards, 1 touchdown. Obviously Jordan Love will be back soon, hopefully. But this is a bad game for the Colts.
No, it was honestly, and I'm. As a Bears fan, I'm an avid Packers hater, and this game was just hard to watch for me because you come into the game, if you're the Colts, and Gus Bradley, the defense coordinator, they just lost Jordan Love. Malik Willis in Tennessee showed that he wasn't a good passer. He wasn't even an average passer. He was a terrible passer. He wasn't able to do anything. So they're going to come in. He's fast. He's a scrambling quarterback. They're going to run the ball. And what do the Packers do? They run for over 200 yards combined. They dominate the game, control the time of possession, and they don't. And the Colts seem like they didn't have a plan. They got lucky that Josh Jacobs fumbled at the 2-yard line.
Right.
Because if they don't, this game isn't even nowhere as close as to what it should have been. It was just embarrassing for the Colts defense. And then they lose to Forrest Buckner, and this is going to be hard for them. They lose to Forrest Buckner. I believe they put him on IR today. So that's 4 games at minimum. And he's their best run stopper. He's their best defender probably. And so I don't see how they're able to adjust and get better going forward on defense. And then Anthony Richardson, yes, he's a pseudo rookie, but he just makes some dumb decisions. I was watching that game, and the first interception, when he throws that pass, he literally, no Colts receiver is within 5 yards, and it hits the Packers safety or cornerback right in the chest. I saw that. The easiest interception of all time, and it's just he makes such amazing throws, but then he follows it up with the worst decisions. I don't understand it, and it's really hard for me to envision him, riding these highs and lows all year, and the Colts being able to do anything realistic with it. No, and honestly, Jordan Love is going to come back in 2 weeks, and I hate it because Packers should have gone 0-3 or 0-2 in these 2 to 3 weeks without him, and they're going to end up winning a game because the Colts were so poorly prepared for this game. It's infuriating to me.
Yeah, it's just embarrassing. I can't imagine Indiana fans being happy. But
if that was my team, I would be on Twitter calling for him to be fired. That was awful. I'm sorry.
I would probably do the same if I was in Indiana. Thank God I'm not a fan from Indiana. Let's talk about your team, the Browns versus the Jaguars. I'm telling you, I'm very happy to beat the Jaguars for reasons, but fuck the cons. But Deshaun Watson, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I guess that's okay. He's obviously not the player that he was on the Texans. Good for. Oh no, he had a rushing touchdown. That's my bad. He does have a rushing touchdown, which is great, I guess. No one receiving obviously got a touchdown because he didn't throw anything. Just that. Yeah, that doesn't that mean. Holy crap! That means it's basically all field goal and plus a safety. I'm guessing it's a field goal and safety for the Browns. Basically. Yeah. Okay, so the Browns are obviously trash. Jaguars are even worse because they lost to the Browns. You have anything to add for this game? I don't really.
Yeah, the only thing I really have to say is, Trevor Lawrence, they just paid him a lot of money, and I think, I have hope in Trevor Lawrence turning around because last year he started off great, then he gets hurt and he plays through the injury and he looks terrible. So, you're hoping he comes into the season healthy and he's able to turn it around. But, last game, they lose a close one to the Dolphins. They probably should have won that one. This game, they lose to the Browns. Another close one. They probably should have won that one. Starting 0-2 is it's really hard to come back from. I know, from all these other talk shows, people have heard, how hard it is, how it's almost a death knell. 0-3 is a true death knell. So they have to win next week. And we'll get to that later, but I don't, particularly love their chances in winning this next coming week. So You know,
Agreed.
so it's unfortunate because I really do like Trevor Lawrence, and I think he, has it, but he doesn't have it for whatever reason. But that's all
No,
I have to say about this game.
yeah, I have nothing much to add either. We'll just get to the next game. Let's talk about the Jets versus Titans. This is a good one for the Jets, especially after losing last week.
Pretty embarrassing fashion, also.
Yeah, it's very embarrassing. I mean, I'm not a big Jets fan, but I like Aaron Rodgers. But so Aaron Rodgers had the most Aaron Rodgers game of all time, 176 yards. I know he usually gets more yards sometimes, but 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Brees Hall looked great out there.
Braylon Allen looked pretty good too.
Yeah, Bray Allen, I couldn't remember his name off my head. Alan Lazard came back from having an amazing weekend and not having an amazing week. I knew he was just going to have one good weekend and everyone was going to go crazy for him. That's why I didn't pick him up fantasy. But Titans, Will Levis, I one touchdown, one interception, but just like, yeah, that just, I know he's a young QB, but come on.
Yeah, you'd be hoping for more progress from Levis at this point. Like you said, he's a young quarterback, so there's still a lot of time for him to, come out and start doing stuff. And he has some good traits. He has some decent athletic ability. He doesn't have a bad arm. He's just, and he's been a subject of a lot of memes, but he's just making weird decisions. It doesn't make sense. Some of the throws he's making, he's getting sacked and he's trying to throw it as he's literally almost 2 feet from face planting. Like, just hold on to the ball. Stop committing these dumb turnovers. And the Titans really had a good chance of being 2-0 when nobody thought they could have, and they blew both games because of dumb turnovers. And the Jets, I'll say this. I know it was a very Aaron Rodgers game. Efficient, no interceptions, but he's not the Aaron Rodgers of old. I think.
Of course,
I don't know if you've seen this. Kevin Wilde's first things first. Give him his credit. This is a running thing that I see him say a lot. But it's been 27 games since Aaron Rodgers has thrown for 300 or more yards. So it's been a while because he was out all last season. So that's like 2-3 seasons back now. So
no, that's what I'm saying.
He needs to really have that true Aaron Rodgers performance where he has 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 70% completion for me to really buy into the Jets. I think that they are an average team. Their defense really, they're supposed to be a top 5 defense. And the first week, they kind of get pushed around by the 49ers. They kind of get dominated by Jordan Mason, not even CMC. And then the second week, the Titans put up 17 points, which isn't a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's not great. The Titans aren't, with Will Levis, unfortunately, haven't proven to be a great offense yet. So I think the Jets really need Aaron Rodgers to step it up for them to actually be a contender like everybody's touting them as.
No, for sure. That's just, like I said, most Aaron Rodgers game because he doesn't throw over 300 yards. I like Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not going to take away from his weaknesses. He just doesn't. He's a very safe quarterback, and that's why the Packers didn't win anything in past 2010. Not 2010. Excuse me. I don't know. It was the 2010. It was 2010. Yeah.
It was the 2010. It's the 2010 season. But I think it was the 2011 championship. If that makes sense.
Yes. That's why I was confused with years.
Rodgers. Yeah, he needs to. If he wants to go out like he said, like John Elway, like Peyton Manning, he needs to really show a little bit more juice in him.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with that. It's just he's a safe quarterback. I remember a couple years ago against the Buccaneers, could have made it to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Or I don't know if it was the Chiefs. I can't remember exactly. He just put
it was against the Buccaneers. You're right.
Yeah. So the Packers had great defense. They got an interception on Tom Brady, which he never throws interceptions usually. Yeah. They had the chance, and he gave up. So, I mean, I love Aaron Rodgers, but the Packers did the right thing. Jordan Love is the future, and I'm hoping for that. But let's continue to the next game real quick, because a surprising 0-2 game, or 0-2 teams just played. Raiders versus Ravens, a close game, but I'm surprised the Ravens are 0-2.
Yeah, this is just the most Ravens thing to do. Last year, I agree. I think they had 6. If I remember correctly, they had 6 games where they were leading going into like the final 5 minutes or something by, at least 3 or more. And they lost all of them. It's crazy. Like they are, and they were dominating the time of possession. They were dominating the game the whole time, and then they lose it in the end. And it's just like, if I was a fan of the Ravens, I would be just so frustrated with this team. They have an MVP quarterback. They have, a really good defense. I won't say great, but a really good defense. They have, good weapons. Zay Flowers, I think, is starting to become, a more trustworthy receiver. He had a good rookie season, and he's starting to build on it more. Derrick Henry, while he's not, prime Derrick Henry, he's still a good running back. And yeah, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, two really good tight ends. Like this team, they need to learn how to win. Apparently, I know they won a lot of games last year, but if they're not blowing the team out, they somehow find a way to lose these games. And like the Raiders, they're not a bad team. They got some good players, but they're not a good team. Nobody thinks the Raiders are a good team. So the fact that they were able to come in and kind of surprise the Ravens like that, it's tough to watch if you were a Ravens fan.
I mean, the Raiders don't have like a real offense. No offense to Minshew. I know he has Devontae Adams, who had a good game, but just like we come in, we knew the offense was going to be bad, and they just the Ravens shouldn't have lost this. I mean, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry went off last week too, and they still lost. And they had both okay games this week, and it's just like I don't know what it is, but they need to fix whatever was going on in Baltimore. They need to really fix that up, because you should not be losing to the Raiders, who probably weren't going to win this game. In fact, I believe last game they were blown out, if I can remember correctly. I can't remember everything, but yeah, they were blown out by the Bills last week, 38-10. So it's just like they're not a championship team, and you're expected to be a championship team.
Yeah, they came in. I mean, they went to the AFC Championship game last year. They they come in this year, everybody's expecting a lot. They lose literally, by an inch to the Chiefs. It's, they play them close. You understand that loss. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL until proven otherwise. So it's tough for them. And, they're lucky that the Bengals, their biggest competition in their division, have also started 0-2. I know the Steelers started 2-0, and we can talk about them, but they're winning strictly on defense, and I don't think they're going to continue that. But
right,
that's the Ravens' only saving grace. So but here's the thing: they need to win this game. While it's early in the season, it's almost become a must-win at this point, and that's never a good thing when you're in week 3 and you're going to potentially must-win games. Like this is not great for them.
Agreed. For sure. I mean, here's the problem. And we can skip the Ravens after this. They play. They play the Cowboys, the Bills, and then the Bengals all next 3 weeks. And I know we just trash on the Cowboys, but they could lose these games.
Yeah, so it's just they don't have any. There's a realistic possibility of those games. They win 1 of 2, and they start off 1-4. That's yeah. We'll talk about it more later, but I'm not feeling. The Ravens blew this. They really needed this win, and they kind of blew it.
No, for sure. I agree with that. So next, let's talk about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say there's one game. I think you might have skipped the Buccaneers and Lions. So.
Oh, I thought I talked about that.
No. Oh, so we can start off with that, or we can finish with that, and that will finish the noon slate of games. But I just got to say this: Baker Mayfield, come back to the Browns. We miss you. They made a mistake. I knew you were injured that last season. Deshaun Watson, he's a pedophile. Get him out of the organization. We need you back, Baker. You are the guy. And I think he's really proven that he's a top 10 quarterback in this league.
No, I love Baker. I was mad when the Browns got rid of him. I couldn't believe it. I straight up couldn't believe it. I was like, who was on their team? What's that receiver's name they had?
Odell. They had Odell.
Yeah, they had Odell. I know he wasn't the same Odell, but they had Baker and Odell, and you could have just kept it going. But Baker and here's the thing: Baker has great weapons, but that's the thing though. Baker is a great pocket quarterback, and that's why I like him. I'm a big pocket quarterback and Madden in general. So Chris Godwin's great. Mike Evans is still always going to be good. Super tall quarterback. Their running backs are solid. It's just the Buccaneers are pretty good. And we could stick with the Lions. Jared Goff, a lot of yards, but 2 interceptions. David Montgomery has 1 touchdown. Gibbs played a lot, got a lot of carries, no touchdowns whatsoever. Got 6.5 yards, which is I guess is pretty okay, above average, but just like come on, just like you got
Yeah,
they're
the
1-1.
Lions. I think this game is more about the Buccaneers than it is about the Lions, though. I think that like everybody came into this game or came into the season expecting the Lions to be, if not the best team in the NFC, the second best team in the NFC. So I think this kind of shows that the Buccaneers they ended off strong last year. They almost beat the Lions and went to the NFC Championship game, and they come out and Baker is looking really good again, and he's continuing what he built off last year. They kept a lot of their core pieces. Like you said, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. They still have some solid pieces on the defense, and I think Todd Bowles is really after his first go with the Jets, I think he's kind of learned and he's turned it around with the Bucks, and he's really doing a great job here. So I hope the Buccaneers can continue to keep this up because I think unfairly everybody kind of wrote them off and said it's the Falcons division just because they added Kirk Cousins when really Baker Mayfield is I think the best quarterback in that division and they have the best weapons in that division. So I think the Buccaneers. I hope they continue and I hope they're able to show that they are a true contender in the NFC like I do think they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Let's talk about the Rams and Cardinals. Not much to say. I like Tutu Atwell's name. 3 catches, with 16 yards. I guess that's not with each, which is not bad. So 48 yards total. Cooper Kupp getting hurt stinks for them. I mean, yeah, this is a bad game for them to play. Kyle Murray looked great. 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, no one really can say much bad about him, I believe.
No, and here's the thing with Murray. He always, when he's healthy, he usually starts off pretty strong, and then something happens, and he falls off towards the end. But he's looking, and maybe I'm just falling for it again, but he looks really good. Marvin Harrison Jr., last week didn't do much. This week, they finally connect, and he's hitting everybody. James Conner, he looks really good. Their running game is super strong. And, they look like, a team with the NFC being so weak. Everybody was expecting the Cardinals to be this terrible team. Their defense is not good. I'm not going to lie. But their offense, they really do have the potential to win some shootouts and sneak their way into the playoffs. I don't know if they will, but Kyler Murray, if he can keep this kind of play up, they really have a good chance. And the Rams, it's just unfortunate because they come into this and they're one of the top contenders in the NFC. I think everyone kind of had it. The main consensus was probably the 49ers, the Lions, and then the Rams. And so it kind of sucks for the Rams to lose Puka Nacua week 1 and then to lose Cooper Kupp week 2. Obviously, you can still win other ways, but losing your 2 top receivers who are both huge difference makers, it's going to be harder for them, obviously. And I think both of them, I know Puka's on IR. I think Cooper Kupp is going to end up going on IR, and it's going to be hard for them to win. And it's just, unfortunate because Matt Stafford, he's not young. He's getting older, and so he's eventually going to decline and play in a drastic way. And it's unfortunate because this might have been their last best chance, and maybe they can turn around once both Puka and Kupp come back. But this is going to be a long road for them now.
No, I agree. I don't have much to say about that. If you have nothing else to add, another exciting game: Chiefs versus Bengals. Classic AFC game. They played against each other in the AFC finals a couple years ago. I know Mahomes is your dude. So go ahead, talk about the Chiefs.
My goat. This is the thing that I'll say about this is this was probably Patrick Mahomes' worst regular season game of his career, and I want to give credit to the Bengals. Right. They are probably the Chiefs' closest rival, but it's just like Patrick Mahomes' worst game of his career, potentially. I'd have to really look into it, but I know this is a top contender for that.
Right.
His worst game of the career, and yet still, you can't beat the Chiefs. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, that PI was bogus. I completely disagree with you. That was the right call. The guy ran through his back before the ball was even there. That's a PI. You got to call it. And people get mad, but they forget that before that play, on 4th and 6, the Chiefs picked up the first down, and then there was a penalty that brought them back 10 yards to 4th and 16.
Right.
So, truly, it goes both ways in that exact scenario. So, it was a questionable call in my eyes, too, so I really don't see a problem there. the Chiefs would have picked up a first down if not for that questionable call, and then they pick up the first down anyways because of a truly, well, yes, you don't want to call it because you hate having games decided that way, but it's just the rules, and while it sucks, that's how it is. And
a foul's a foul.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like in real time it's hard to see, but the second you slow that down, it's clear as day. So I'm not going to entertain any of these Bengals fans, pretty dumb takes. So I just want to say, I think the Chiefs, 2-0, they probably played their, two biggest rivals, many would say, other than the Bills. So the fact that they're 2-0, the Ravens and the Bengals are both 0-2, and they have the tiebreaker over both of them. The Chiefs have a clear shot to the number one seed and potentially getting that three-peat, which I already think Mahomes is the GOAT, and we've talked about this. But if he gets that three-peat, I think there's no question that he becomes the GOAT, and I think that'll become more widely accepted than what it is right now.
No, yeah. I mean, a three-peat in NFL has
never been done in the NFL.
Oh, has never happened. Okay, so yeah,
in the Super Bowl era, in the championship era, the Packers won the last NFL championship, and then they won 2 Super Bowls in a row. So technically, they three-peated, but nobody has technically won
in the modern era,
Super Bowls in a row. Yeah, in the Super Bowl era, there's been no 3 straight champions. So it's this would be the first one ever in NFL history. So, and Mahomes, I'm impressed with him. And think about it like this: Pacheco's hurt. The run game still looks fine with Carson Steele, and then they signed Kareem Hunt, who I don't think is going to be amazing, but he has familiarity with Andy Reid in the Chiefs offense.
Right.
He wasn't a main back; he was a backup. So, he doesn't have all the tread on his tires like most running backs at his age would. And then 2, he was hurt last year towards the end of the season, and he had a chance to recover. He's coming in 2 weeks late, no off-season training, nothing, so he's able to try to get healthy. So I think he's going to be fine as a replacement for Pacheco until he comes back. So once Travis Kelce gets going, once they get this run game going again, they're going to be a really hard team to beat, and I do think the Chiefs are kind of going to roll through the AFC again.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much you could say negatively about what the pick up Kareem Hunt. I always liked Kareem Hunt, especially when he was on the Browns. I was for a second liking the Browns offense a lot, but in general, just I picked up Steele. I hope he plays more than Kareem Hunt. Excuse me. So we'll see. I don't have nothing negative.
I think it's going to be like a true 50-50 split,
which is fine.
Yeah. Which I think is probably the smart move because Kareem Hunt's more of that receiving back, while it seems like Steele's kind of got a little bit of power to him, so you can kind of really use both their advantages.
Yeah, no complaints here. Let's skip to the next game, which was a boring game. I don't even have much to say. Steelers versus Broncos. Justin Field, former Bears legend quarterback. I have nothing negative to really say about him, to be honest with you. 1 touchdown, 117 yards. I'm not surprised. He's on a new team. I know people said that it's his 3rd year, but how many years has been Justin Fields for him? It's his 3rd, right?
No, this is his 4th.
4th year. Okay, it's his 4th year.
Yeah, this is his 4th year.
Yeah, a young quarterback on a new team. I always give them a little break, especially joining the Steelers. They have one of the best coaches of all time, or not if he's the greatest.
No, Mike Tomlin. He's never had a losing season. It's remarkable what Mike Tomlin is able to do. I think people kind of, give him slack because,
they haven't won much,
they're not winning much in the playoffs anymore. But the fact that he's taking these teams with the most mediocre quarterback play you can imagine to the playoffs, like last year, the AFC, everyone would consider the stronger conference. The AFC North was probably the best conference last year, and he still took the Steelers to the playoffs with Mason Rudolph and Russell Wilson, or not Russell Wilson, but terrible quarterback play. They still made the playoffs, so you gotta give him some credit there. I will say this about Justin Fields: he looks fine, but come on, 117 yards passing, that's not great. I'm sorry, it's just not. And I know there was a couple throws that got negated, but guess what? They got negated, so it doesn't count for anything. So unfortunately, Fields looks okay. He doesn't look terrible, and I never thought he was terrible. I just don't think. I don't think he's a starting level quarterback, and if he is, he really is dependent on his legs, not his arm, and that's hard to be a successful quarterback in this league like that.
No, yeah, we'll see without him. I believe in him still, but I have nothing much to add. Poor Bo Nix, again, a great name. 246 yards. I mean, you're over 50%, but you have 2 interceptions.
Well,
Granted, this is the Broncos. Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
I was just say one thing I want to add for the Broncos is it's the same thing we were playing about with the Bears, but they're not really setting him up for success. He's a rookie quarterback. You need to take some of the pressure off of him, and to do that is to establish a running game. And the running game, guess who the leading rusher was? Bo Nix. And that's just that can't be the case. You need
Right.
someone. You need them to have 20-ish carries. And you don't want him throwing almost 40 times a game. You want him throwing 20, 25 times a game, getting into a rhythm, handing the ball off. Having some easy play action throws, some easy completions, get into a rhythm to build his confidence early in the season. And it's hard to do that when you can't run the ball, you can't set a tone. So I don't think Sean Payton's doing him any services right now.
No, for sure. I agree with you. Let's get to the next game. We're from Chicago. I watched this game. I'm not surprised the Bears lost, to be honest with you. I'm not also mad at Caleb either, just because it's a rookie quarterback, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. But again, he had the most rushing yards, like you talked about with Bo Nix. Yep. I'll let you go. I'll let you rant a bit. This is your team, mainly your team. So go ahead.
So I know everybody is giving Caleb a lot of criticism for this game, and it's not unjust. He deserves some criticism. He for sure missed some throws. There was a lot of miscommunication, and that's on the quarterback. But he was pressured on 79% of his throws. That is just awful. No quarterback is going to succeed in that situation. You cannot tell me otherwise. I think Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. I know Tom Brady is considered the GOAT by many, but you put them in that situation, they're not going to succeed. It is impossible when you are being hit or being pressured on every single snap. It's just not going to work. And he started off really strong. He had a couple good drives, had a couple good passes, was getting into a rhythm, but every time it seemed like they would hand the ball off, they would lose yards. They were putting themselves in second and third and longs, and that's just not successful for a quarterback. You need to be able to establish a run, and you need to be able to set some kind of pace and tone. And then you're able to create easy throws. You let Caleb get into a rhythm, and then he's able to complete some of the more timing throws. You're able to keep the defense off their on their heels. They're not able to just send 5, 6, 7 people every single time and not have to worry about someone getting open because there's no rhythm, there's no flow. And another big thing was the Texans were getting pressure with 4 or 5 guys. They were blitzing, throughout the game, but a lot of the times they were getting pressure with 4 or 5 guys and just doing basic stunts. That's terrible for the offensive line. That is stuff that you learn. I was an offensive lineman. You learn how to deal with stunts in high school. It's not a complicated thing to do. And I know, the Texans have a great defensive end. They have Danielle Hunter, they have Will Anderson. They have good players on their defense, but there's no reason for them to be getting that many pressures on him. And that just is setting Caleb up for failure. And then towards the end, yeah, he threw 2 picks towards the end, but they weren't able to set up anything, so he had to take things into his own hands and kind of play hero ball. And it's not going to work when the quarterback is being forced to play hero ball. He needs to be able to have a system around him that's in place, and unfortunately the Bears let him down. I will say this about the defense for the Bears. The fact that they kept him in the game that whole time, they're on the field so often, the Bears are going 3 and out, the Texans are driving, they're getting points, they're able to, sustain drives actually, so it's tiring out the defense. The fact that they held the Texans, who coming into this year, a lot of people have a lot of hype, which understandably for the Texans, and CJ Stroud, the fact that they were able to hold him to 19 points and give Caleb a chance to win this game at the end of give him a chance to win the game at the end, that was impressive. So I don't think the Bears are out, and truly, they're going against the Colts, who I have stressed about have the worst rush defense in all of the NFL, it seems. They have a chance to really set up a game plan, let DeAndre Swift, let Khalil Herbert, stop playing Travis Homer. He sucks, and I hate that he's getting 25% of the snaps. But let them run, let them set a tone, make the Colts have to guess. Don't let them just, play back and be able to defend and nobody's getting open. Make them guess. Make them, on their toes. That's how you're going to win games. So, and the Bears defense, I truly think, is performing at a top 5 level. Last week, they won the game for them. This week, they kept them in the game. And I don't know what's going on in that locker room in the second half, but they come out in the second half and they just dominate. So Caleb's a rookie. He's going to have his ups and downs, but there really is a good chance for these Bears teams to turn around. And they have the Colts next, and I forget who they have in week 4, but it's not a hard matchup. They have a chance to end up 3-1 after these 2 weeks. Let Caleb develop a rhythm because these are not 2 good defenses they're playing, and they can really, start moving forward and progressing Caleb. CJ Stroud, everyone talks about how he had a phenomenal rookie season. It took him 3 or 4 weeks to really start shining. So Caleb Williams, he can, he still has a chance to really go out and ball this season. So I'm not giving up on him. I know a lot of people in the media hate him because they think he's a diva and he paints his nails and he was a cocky quarterback. Well, guess what? I'm tired of the Justin Fields and the Mr. Trubisky's who have no personality, who are just monotone. They don't seem like they care. The Jay Cutlers, they don't seem like they care. They're uninterested. Caleb Williams cares. That's the one thing you see from him. He cares. Oh, he's crying in the stands because he lost. He cares. He's a kid. Sure, you want your quarterback to be a little bit more,
No, people need to grow up.
I guess. But here's the thing. He's upset that he lost. He wanted to compete for a national championship, and he didn't get to. That just shows how much he cares about football and he cares about this game. So I'm not going to sit here and take any of this criticism for Caleb. I think he has the utmost potential, and he's going to turn it around. So, I have a lot of faith in this Bears team still. I'm obviously disappointed from this week because the game plan was terrible and the offensive line failed him. But there's a lot to look forward to in this team. But the Texans, and I know I talked about the Bears. I don't know if you want to say something about the Bears before I go on to the Texans. You can talk. Sorry, I went on a long.
No. I told you to go rant. Caleb, people need to stop complaining about Caleb. I'm not a big football fan. I love basketball way more than I love football. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
It's 2 games. Relax. If he paints nails, who cares? Whatever. That doesn't matter. If he's playing good, he's playing good. And you better hope he works out. That's what. If you're gonna keep bringing him down with him in the media, like how they do with every Bears quarterback, guess what? You're gonna fail. They're gonna fail. So just back off a little bit. We'll talk about the Texans a bit. Nico Collins, a beast. He caught the ball 8 times for 135 yards, so averaging 17 yards per game with 1 touchdown. Stephon Diggs, who I thought would help up, come and help a little more. It really seems to take in like the second, just move to the side for Nico Collins, who's not even the main receiver, I believe, at this point.
It seems like he is because like you said, Nico Collins, he kind of torched Tyreek Stevenson, and Tyreek, I think it's the second year he had a really good rookie year, but Nico Collins really did torch him, and it wasn't a great look for him, and I think Nico Collins truly is staking his claim as the number 1 receiver on this team because he looked impressive to me, and he's a big, strong dude. He's fast. He's athletic. Stephon Diggs is a bit older now, and he's still good. Don't get me wrong. But Nico Collins, I think, is the person that CJ Stroud needs to really give his focus and attention to this season. But CJ Stroud, he looked good. He didn't make any mistakes. Sure, they weren't able to drive, every single play and score 30 points, like you would want from a top-tier offense. But like I was saying, I think this Bears team is really showing that they have a top defense, and they're going to have one for a long time.
Like usual, yeah.
So, CJ Stroud, I think truly he, has a chance to really put himself into the MVP conversation. He's playing good. He's making the right decisions. And this Texans team, I know I said the Bengals earlier are the Chiefs' rival right now. I don't want to jump the gun, but I think CJ Stroud has a chance to take this team to be the true rival of the Chiefs. He's just so young. He's so impressive. He holds himself at a higher standard than most. So I'm impressed with this Texans team and their defense. Their pass rush seems obviously against the Bears, but it seems really good, and that's the most important part of the defense, in my opinion. If you can disrupt the quarterback, you disrupt the whole game. So I think they had a really great plan there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's talk about the last game for the Monday night game. Falcons versus Eagles, a really good game. Kirk Cousins always showing up on Monday nights, it seems like at this point. Um, Amazing. I hope, he recovered from his injury pretty well, it seems like. Bijan
Yeah, I know
Robinson.
week 1 people were saying Kirk looked rusty, but I think week 2, I don't think it was.
It's a new team as well.
That slowed him.
Yeah.
I don't think the injury that slowed him week 1. I think it was he had to play for half the season, new team, new offense. I think he's going to come into himself a little bit more. But keep going. Sorry.
No. Kirk Cousins played well. Bijan Robinson didn't get a touchdown, but still looking great out there. I have nothing to say bad about the Falcons. I know the Eagles lost as well, but Saquon Barkley played okay. He played worse than Bijan. But Jalen Hurts with 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 being a rush. Devontae Smith got the catch. You just expect a little more. I mean, it feels like the Falcons' defense really got onto the Eagles' offense, and I feel like they couldn't get anything out.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Falcons had no right to win this game. The Eagles, and I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. I won't make it as long as my last one, but Sirianni, I think, is an idiot. He fumbled that game. I mean, truly, I get you're thinking, we can surprise him, and Saquon, he's a good receiver. If he catches that, he'll catch it. Of course, it'll be an easy game. That's why you don't throw the ball, because drops happen. It is much more likely for a drop to happen than a fumble or anything else that could have happened. And you know what? The tush push was working. So you know what you could have done? You could have ran the ball. You probably gained a yard or two with Saquon because he wasn't bad last week, or he wasn't bad that game. So you get 4th and 1 at the 3, and you go for the tush push. And guess what? If you don't get it, you give the Falcons 40 yards, or you trap them at their 3, and they have to go 60 yards to kick a field goal in 40 seconds with no timeouts.
Yeah.
Instead, they go for it. They miss, kick the field goal, and you give them a minute 50 to go win the game. And guess what they did? They went and won the game. And it's all. And I think Sirianni, he pissed me off when he was talking ish in the tunnel after the Chiefs game, acting like they're so good, and he was. It's just he irks me as a person, but his coaching, it was just so ridiculously dumb. They should have won that game. There's no reason they lost that game, and now the Eagles are 1-1, and it's just, come on, that was dumb.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. That was I watched that game as well, just very surprising. But people don't learn their lesson. Do you have anything to add to else for this game, or you want to get to week 3 real quick?
No, I think we're good to wrap up on that. Sirianni, bad coaching and dumb decisions. Like, I know I play a lot of Madden, and I think I know everything, but I think everybody knows in that situation you run the ball.
No, I agree. I know that too. Yeah. Let's get to week 3. Let's do a little game. You have 60 seconds for each game. I'm gonna give you 5 games. Give me 60 seconds. I think who you're gonna win, what's the score, and what you think, and why do you think they're gonna win. Let's do this. Let's start off with your classic Bears versus Colts. Tell me why do you? I know you're gonna think the Bears are gonna win. Why do you think the Bears are gonna win that game? Start.
2 simple reasons. Anthony Richardson, I think he has the most turnovers in the league right now, or the second most turnovers in the league.
Right.
The Bears defense, they've been forcing turnovers. They forced a fumble last week. They forced a pick the week before and a fumble, I believe. They're going to force turnovers. The defense is going to show themselves, and then the Colts defense is not good. Their rushing game is terrible, and I think the Bears will be able to finally start getting their rushing game going. I think Caleb will feel comfortable in the pocket, and you'll be able to get into a rhythm early and often, and then the game will just kind of go from there. And I could be wrong, but I have high hopes in the Bears, and I think this is going to be 28 to probably 14 would be my guess.
Okay. And you think Caleb? How many touchdowns do you think Caleb will have?
I'm gonna go with 2. 2
Okay.
and no interceptions.
Okay, perfect. Next game, very interesting game. Ravens versus Cowboys. Cowboys are 1-1. They've been struggling, and Ravens are 0-2. As we mentioned before, this is a very important game because Ravens, the 0-3 is usually when there's what do you call it, poison?
The death nail.
Death nail, yeah. So tell me who you think.
So, this is a tough one for me because, like I said earlier, the Cowboys are usually really great at home, and they're at home. But another
Yes.
stat that I didn't divulge with you is that Lamar has only lost one game in his career to NFC teams. So
Oh wow.
he dominates the NFC, and I think the Ravens are going to come out. They're the more desperate team. They've been in both these games, while as the Cowboys, they just lost a big blowout. I know they're going to come desperate too, but I think the Ravens, they know their situation. They know how important this win is, and Lamar dominates the NFC. I think the Ravens are going to win, but I do think the Cowboys are going to look better than they did last week. And I'm guessing it's going to be about a 24-20 win. It's going to be a close game. It's not going to be a high scoring game, but it's going to be a close game that the Ravens, are able to eke out.
Right. Okay. Next game I have for you. What was it? Sorry. Okay. How do you feel about Eagles versus Saints? Saints with the crazy offense. Eagles. They could possibly won last week. How do you feel about that?
This is a hard game for me because I don't know how to feel about the Saints. I scoring 40 points in 2 games, in the first 2 games, that's really impressive. And Vic Fangio, he's a good defensive coordinator. He was with the Bears formerly, and took them to a playoff run, and did a lot with the Bears. So I think the Saints aren't going to score 40 points, but honestly, I think they might shock everybody, and I think they're going to win this game and really show that they are a team in the NFC. I don't like the Eagles. Their defense is a bottom 5 defense, and it has been since last year.
Right.
Sorry, excuse me. But
Good.
The offense on the Saints looks so good. The defense on the Eagles has looked terrible. I think the Eagles
got 20 seconds.
I think the Eagles have made good steps. I just want to say that with drafting Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, but I see the Saints winning this game, and I think it's going to be 31-24. I think the Saints are still going to prove that they're going to actually prove to everybody that they're a team to actually be reckoned with.
Yeah, and here's another interesting game. This is the 4th game. These teams are both 2-0. Texans versus Vikings. Texans playing another NFC North team. So how do you feel about this game?
Like I said earlier, I don't know what to think of Sam Darnold. I do think Kevin O'Connell is a great coach in this league, but I think the Vikings are outmatched here. I don't see a way that they can, overcome C.J. Stroud, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. I don't think Joe Mixon's going to miss this game, and then their 2-star edge rushers. I just think Sam Darnold's going to be under too much pressure to really perform here. I just really do have a lot of faith in C.J. Stroud. I think he's a guy. I think he's going to be the guy, other than Mahomes, hopefully, for years to come. So I do see the Texans winning this, and I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. I think it's going to be, my guess would be 31-17. I think it's going to be a secure win for them.
Oh, wow. Last but least, I don't see too many interesting games that pop up for the last one. But you know what? What do you prefer to talk about? Would you prefer to talk about the Chiefs and Falcons, or the Dolphins versus Seahawks?
I'm going to throw out a different game. I think Jaguars-Bills, Monday night.
Interesting, yeah.
I think it's a big game for the Jaguars, and the Jaguars won last year in London, albeit, but the Jaguars, once again, are 0-2. They've lost 2 games that they probably should have won. Trevor Lawrence, he's looked okay, but he hasn't looked great. While Josh Allen and the Bills, they've looked good. They've really been able to, dominate these 2 games. First game, Josh Allen looks like Superman. Second game, Josh Allen doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be closer than they think, but I think the Bills are kind of going to give the Jaguars that death stamp, and they're going to kind of really make it hard for the Jaguars to compete, and I think the Bills are going to win. I'm going to go 35-24. I think they're going to get a pretty solid win, but I think the Jaguars' offense will look a little bit better this week than it has the last 2 weeks.
Right. Any other games you see interesting, or you think that was the 5 top interest? My opinion, I don't see anything more interesting, to be honest.
The only other game that interests me a bit is Lions and Cardinals, because they're both 1-1 teams. The Lions have obviously higher expectations, but the Cardinals have looked good coming, into the season after last week, and they played the Bills, tougher than most people would have thought. So I'm, I just want to say that's probably going to be an interesting matchup. I do think the Lions are going to win it because Dan Campbell, I think, is a great coach. Their offense is, normally clicking, and their defense is solid. But I'm curious to see how the Cardinals' offense is going to look against, what most would consider a good defense, and I wonder if their defense can hold up against a great offense.
Yeah, for sure. So that makes up for our recap for, or excuse me, our preview for week 3. We're gonna plan to do this possibly every Monday. We're hoping to do a preview, right? Or excuse me, every Tuesday. I apologize.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, every Tuesday for now on. So tune in at SuperDebate Bros on Twitch and on YouTube. We're gonna have more videos coming out faster. But yeah, give us a subscribe and follow.
Yeah,
have a good night, y'all.
Please check us out on YouTube. Like Moody said, it's the most important thing you can do for us. While we like streaming on Twitch, YouTube is truly the best way for our platform to grow. And if you have any comments, any games for us to play, we're thinking about playing some games while we're streaming to get a little bit more stuff going on. Let us know if there's any games you want to see us play, so we can maybe just try to stream those as well. But otherwise, have a great night, guys.